Hey, this is the Money Talks podcast with me, Andrea Heng. Now, you know how our parents tend to be the first people ever in our lives that we talk about money with, right? I mean, they're the ones that give us our first allowance, and they are probably the first ones to warn you about credit card debt. But what if the tables are turned and it's now your turn to talk to mom and dad about their money? I'll admit, I even recently had to check in on my parents' finances, ask them how their investments are doing. So, how do we navigate all of these sensitivities without overstepping some of those boundaries? I might get some advice now from Vera Lau. She's a communications specialist at online trading platform Saxo. Hey, Vera, good of you to join us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, so here's the thing. When you first meddled in your parents' finances, how did they react? What was the first thing you did, and how did they react to you getting involved in their finances?
Yeah, it was a touchy subject. I think you're right to say that our parents really think that, they are the ones taking care of us. So I think financially, or even in any aspect, right, that sort of shifting of tables is definitely like a transition period and was a very awkward conversation to have. I would be the first to admit my parents really didn't take it well. They were a bit like, why are you asking these questions?
Yeah. What made you want to have that conversation in the first place? I mean, what was that trigger moment?
Yeah, I think I came to that realization a long time ago. Like, I think sometime in secondary school, JC, I already realized that maybe my parents were not, really long-term planning for their finances.
Right.
So growing up, I always heard that, we were very fortunate. We had food on the table, roof over our head, that sort of stuff. Very privileged to be in Singapore, where a lot of us have these, basic needs met.
Correct.
My parents are of the generation where growing up, some of them maybe didn't really have that much money, didn't have food. Not all of the siblings went to school. Some of my aunts and uncles didn't, right? So I think they had a very sort of survival mindset.
Right.
Right? And they just wanted to make enough to live to the next day, that sort of stuff.
So a very hand-to-mouth kind of thing?
A bit, right? And I think to them that was sufficient.
Yes.
Right? Like there was very heavy mindset on like saving and then spending within your means. But there was no long-term planning.
Yeah, and that speaks to the lack of financial literacy that they had at that time. They didn't really have that kind of access that we do now.
For sure. So to them it was, you make a good salary, you save some of that, you spend within your means, and then that would be sufficient.
Right.
There was really no long-term plan. So when I was in JC, I think I started to realize if I were to go to university, I don't think they had sufficient cash to maybe support me in that way. And that was fine because we have support, right, via CPF, we have support via bank loans, that's all okay. Yeah. But what happens if I want to start a family and my paycheck will then have to pay for a lot of mouths if my parents didn't have long-term planning. Yeah. So I think, because I'm a worrier.
I can tell.
I'm a worrier. I started worrying, like 15, 16 that this wasn't going
so
well.
That's the thing. I'm curious about that because when I was 15, 16, I kind of had that running in the background, but I was also like, I think mom and dad will sort it out. How were you able to come to that kind of sophisticated thinking when it came to money as a teenager? I mean, you ask any teenager then, now, I mean, no difference. They won't have that kind of foresight. How did you have that in you?
I think I came from a fairly trying or challenging situation.
Right.
So growing up in primary school, I remember we had a very decent lifestyle.
Okay.
But like in late primary school, it became very apparent to me that my dad was struggling a little bit with his business. So my parents were having very upfront talks with us, like, we have to move out of our condo.
Right.
We have to move into this really small flat.
We have to cut back on certain things.
Yeah, at that point, I could remember when I was a lot younger, we'd go to like NTUC, buy a bunch of snacks, right? Yeah. But then, after this sort of shift, and now I think it coincided sort of 2008 when everybody was kind of struggling. A lot of people were losing their jobs.
That's right.
I could tell like when you opened the fridge, there were just not that many groceries, right? So you could tell that something in the air had changed.
Right.
And from that young age, again, being a worrier, my mom was so honest to tell me that we might even be considering declaring bankruptcy.
Wow.
Right, yeah. So
And that must have really unsettled you
I
as
had
a
no
child.
idea what that meant.
Yeah.
But it sounded bad.
Yeah, and I think the only reference we have as kids
Monopoly.
to bankruptcy is Wheel of Fortune, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you hear the really bad alarm sounds, and it's just shocking to you. That must have been how you felt, right?
Yeah. I was like, the world is falling apart. I don't know what's happening.
Oh dear.
It was very scary.
Mm.
So I guess in that way, the real world was like shoved in my face very
Right.
early on.
And you're the eldest in your family?
I am. This is an older daughter thing.
It is an elder daughter thing. You and I, we have lots to talk about. But we
Yep.
have to talk about business first. Okay, so here's the thing, right? And I totally get you where you're coming from. You're the eldest daughter, you're the elder sibling.
Yeah.
And you have parents who appear to be struggling. So
Yeah.
you felt like you needed to take responsibility a little bit, right? So what did you do as a teenager to sort of contribute to the solution, I suppose?
So I think as a teenager, my priority was not being a burden, right? I think I understood that there was a limit to how much I could support them materially,
Right.
right? So for me, there are 4 people in my family, my parents, my brother, and myself. So just by removing myself from the equation, I saw that as being helpful.
Right.
Right. So I got my first job when I was 16. I was working at Starbucks. It was a very conscious decision because I studied there.
I see.
So if I worked there, the coffee was free.
Right.
Right. So my ecosystem was just Starbucks at White Sands.
Right.
That was my whole thing.
Right.
Right. And you know, when the food is nearing expiry, they actually let you take it home.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see my entire
So
I
you were
paid for
very
myself.
conscious about
was.
money at such a young age.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so let's fast forward now to how you had that first conversation with mom and dad about their finances. Can I assume that by the time you had this conversation, how old were you when you had this conversation with them?
I was maybe fresh out of uni.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
22,
some years had
23,
passed.
yeah,
About
some
a few
years had
years had
passed.
passed. Can I assume also then that your parents had sort of gotten out of that bumpy period, or was it still shaky?
I think so. My parents, credit to them, they were not afraid to bite the bullet and get through it.
Great.
So what actually happened was that my dad had a small business, and it was doing fine for a long time, and then eventually it wasn't.
Okay.
So there were a couple of difficult things they had to get out of financially. So there were loans that they had to repay, debts that they had to service, right?
Yeah.
So I was 15, I was earning $8 an hour. There was really not that much I could do to make a difference.
Sure.
So kudos to them. They really got their head down. They worked hard, and I respect them so much for it. And they made it through, right? It was
Right.
10, 12, 15 years of really scrimping and saving. But we made it through, right? So once we had made it through, then I was about ending uni, and I realized that they just had, that was the light at the end of the tunnel, just getting through that.
So that was like the
That was their
destination,
end.
and that was it.
Yeah, but they didn't think about the fact that they were healthy, they were living longer, and they had, 20, 30, 40 years to kind of stretch out past that point.
Yes.
And honestly, at that point, my mom had been working really hard for a long time. I think she also wanted to take a chill. She wanted to play mahjong, sort of like just relax.
I mean, deservedly so. You
Of
worked for
course.
so many years so hard.
Of course.
Just for the bare minimum, you're tired.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, but who's gonna pay the bills, right?
Yeah.
So it was either I plan or I pay.
Okay.
So for a short period, I planned and paid.
Okay. Wow.
Right? And then now it's
Right.
more of like the planning has sort of taken into effect.
So
now
what
we
was
just
that?
plan.
So what was that conversation like? How did you? Was it like over dinner one day? Hey, mom and dad, we got to talk about this.
Yeah, it really was. I think
Oh.
it didn't happen overnight.
Okay.
There was no one defining pivotal moment. I was like, sit down, take out your papers. We're
Right.
sorting this out now. No.
Okay.
It was do you guys have a plan? It was very gentle. I gentle parented
parented your
my parents.
Lovely.
It's basically how it went.
Yeah.
It was so do we have a plan, guys?
Yeah.
What's going on? Do you have visibility into your finances? Do you know how much you spend month on month? What is our average electricity bill? I when I discuss this with my friends, we've bucketed our parents into 2 buckets.
Right.
One bucket of parents really know what they're doing. They tend to be a bit better educated.
Okay.
They have, corporate jobs mostly, and they know what they're doing. They've invested their monies. They have investment plans. Those are fine.
Okay.
And there's everybody else, which is
Yeah.
like kind of in between, made ends meet, have a bit of a traditional mindset towards money and saving.
Yeah.
Don't trust the stock market thing. Everything is a bit scammy.
Yes.
You're right.
Yes.
A bit hesitant, right?
Yes.
But these are also the people that I think are a bit more reluctant to hear from their kids.
Right. So where did your parents fall? That's the bucket.
Squarely in this bucket.
Right.
Right. So it took a lot of gentle parenting.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many conversations and meetings and years did it take for them to finally
2?
say, okay, 2?
1, 2 years?
Oh wow,
Yeah,
years.
Years.
Right.
Yeah.
So just a lot of gentle coaxing
100%.
and convincing them. What was the toughest thing to convince them about?
So I think like many Singaporeans, my parents' only asset was really their house.
Yeah.
Right? So we lived in a fairly nice sort of 5-room HDB in Pasir Ris. And that was really their only asset, right? They had no other investment or funds. So in my head, it was pretty obvious that at some point they would have to downsize and then take that profit and try to do something with it.
Yes.
For wealth accumulation, right?
Right.
So that was obviously difficult because nobody wants to move out of their 5-room flat and then apply for a 3-room BTO.
Yeah. So you convinced them to do it?
I did.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what my husband and I did.
Okay.
So we were also struggling a bit to get a BTO.
Right.
So we actually took advantage of the schemes.
Okay.
There's that multi-generation thing, right?
Right.
Where it's a separate queue.
So it's an opportunity for both?
It's a win-win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's why. So now we both have new houses.
New leases?
Yeah, new leases, new houses.
And fresh money in the bank.
Correct.
Right. And how are they feeling about now?
It's a give and take. My dad's super happy.
Okay.
Because he gets to be close to my dog, my son, me. I think so. He's very happy about the arrangement.
Okay.
My mom is a bit less happy, I'd say, but she's
Okay.
getting there.
Okay.
It's a give and take, right?
Sure.
So the downgrade from a 5-room resale to a 3-room BTO is a huge difference in space.
But have you shown her the result of
Yes,
downgrading
she's so happy.
monetarily? So that's the part that she's happy about.
Correct, correct.
At least there's that.
Correct.
At least there's that.
So concessions have to be made, right?
Right.
But kudos to my dad. They have a really good marriage. So he was like, we can paint the house whatever color you want. We can do carpentry however you want. So she's very
husband
happy
of the
now.
year, this.
He is father and husband of the year. So I think he's really made her accept that this is their way forward. They didn't really plan for this, so this was the only way. But we're in a good space now.
That's great. And they must be really comfortable as well. Like they don't have to worry too much about it as well. Okay. I hear that you are extending these financial planning services
I am.
to your in-laws.
I am.
Please tell me, how did this come about?
Oh, this is like a whole other episode, right?
Right.
Because I think dealing with your in-laws is an art.
It is. And, for you to convince them to touch their money.
Yes.
I mean, that's next level. Kudos to you, man. Like, let me say that first. Now you can tell me how you got there.
Okay. So my in-laws also belong to that bucket
Right.
of like, traditional mindset towards
Very
money.
conservative.
Didn't really think about it long term. Hand to mouth mindset.
Right.
And then with my in-laws, they're actually not together anymore.
Okay.
So they are separated but not divorced. One of those weird things that I think happens
especially in that
Singapore,
generation.
in that generation,
Yeah.
So there are more landmines
I see.
around that situation.
Which makes your job even trickier.
Yeah, but again, it's the same situation, right? Like, I cannot take care of 2 sets of parents plus my children. That's just not sustainable. I was like, I might be sandwich generation, but I am the last sandwich that shall exist, right?
Wow. I love that.
I'm like, I will fix this sandwich. It'll be the best damn sandwich anyone's ever had. Right?
That's right.
Yeah. I was like, both sides.
I
we
love
need
this
to jaga.
commitment. No, it's true. It's this
It's
conviction is needed to cut the cycle,
Yes.
to kill it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because if not, you're just going to perpetuate this forever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And it only gets harder as your parents get older. Mobility becomes an issue. Health becomes an issue.
That's right. And health costs are only going to go up from
Correct.
here. And it's constant conversation here.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
we have to preempt ourselves for that. So the in-law situation, how did that go?
The in-law situation was sitting them down and telling them honestly. Well,
Oh.
I started with my mother-in-law.
Okay.
So I have a better relationship with her. I think we're very, I would say we're quite close.
Okay.
Relatively close.
That's nice.
And it was very much, Mom, what are you doing? How do you intend to pay for everything?
Right.
Next 5-10 years?
Yeah.
I think I was very honest as well. I'm quite a straightforward person.
Right.
I was very much like, dad as in her husband that she doesn't really speak to, right?
Yeah.
He's not going to probably support you.
Right.
Right. And you need to figure that out on your own as well. Like, we give allowance and all of that,
Right.
but I don't think that's going to be enough in the long run.
How did she take it? I mean, it must have been a wake-up call from her in-law, no less. How
Yeah.
did she take it? I mean, not a lot of mom-in-laws would welcome such a conversation, right?
I would say that, and this is because of her as a person, it was her personality. I think she took it badly and then well.
Ah,
Yeah, so
okay.
she was pretty shocked that we were having this conversation.
Right.
But I think ultimately she understood that it came from a good place. And over time she was a bit more receptive. You know, she was willing to go down to CPF and HDB and figure
Wow.
out what,
Those
she,
are
she didn't
simple but
actually
big
know.
moves.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And then she was willing to sort of like work out the finances.
That's great.
Bring the letter, sit at the coffee shop, show me her credit card bills, that kind of
Wow.
stuff.
So it's come to that level of transparency now.
I think so.
Okay, so therein lies the question. So you brought up a great point about personality, right?
Yes.
When I first started talking to my parents about finances, especially my dad, they're like, no, we're your parents. You don't worry about us. You settle own self.
Yeah.
You worry about yourself. I'm worried about you. Do you need money?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what money are you going to give me when you don't have any of your own?
Yeah.
So that brings us back to this question of personality and attitudes, right? And behaviors, right?
Yes.
How would you advise fellow Singaporeans out there, listeners out there, in terms of breaking that ice, having that first conversation, and what they need to be prepared for? Because I think as children, we need to be prepared for that rude shock back from our parents.
Yeah.
Because as much as it is a rude shock to them, I think we need to be prepared for their reaction too, right? So how do we navigate that?
I don't want to pretend and say I was very brave or like, I had a full...
You kind of were, but
But I didn't have a full plan going in. It was very much motivated by desperation. I knew I had to nip it in the bud. I knew I had to have the conversations, even if they were to, react badly and it would bounce back on me. I knew that it was a very necessary conversation.
yeah,
If not, it was just going to continue to snowball.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's about...
So what would you say to someone who is thinking about having this conversation for the first time with their resistant parents? What would you say to them?
I really think that it's about how much you stand to gain.
Okay.
Right. For me, I only got involved because I realized that it was not sustainable. You had to address it. If not, in 5, 10, 15 years, it would only be exponentially worse. Right. So for those bucket of people, for those Singaporeans or listeners that are in that situation, they fully can see and recognize that their parents are not going to be able to kind of sustain that.
Right. Hence the desperation you were talking
Correct.
about. It wasn't just your desperation, but your desperation for them.
Yes. Like, even if they couldn't see it yet, I think maybe because we have the benefit of higher financial literacy,
Yeah.
more understanding of how finances work, I think we can see that it would be a problem.
Right. So it is
So-
ultimately our responsibility as children then, I suppose. I mean, this goes beyond filial piety, I suppose. You want to make sure
It's
that...
also a bit self-preservation, right? Like, you either have that difficult conversation with them now and sort it out now, or in 10, 15 years, you will find yourself splitting your paycheck to pay for many, many mouths.
Exactly.
And I don't know if I will have a job
Yeah.
in 5, 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't know what the landscape's going to look like.
And this is a real problem for
It
the sandwich
is.
generation like you
Yes.
and I, right?
Correct.
We really have to make sure that we have enough to cover ourselves, but we're also allocating budget for our parents just
Yes.
in case.
Correct.
But that your point here is that just in case should not happen, they should be able to sort themselves out as well, right?
I mean, we hope. We hope that they're able to sort themselves out, or with what they have, we can rejig the plan
Yeah.
so that they can sort themselves out,
Yeah.
right? So I think,
Just to give them a leg up, I suppose, right?
I guess, yeah, it's more like anticipating the issue and then trying to help them solve it because you have a little bit more, you have the benefit of knowledge.
Yes.
Right, and the benefit of recognizing it might be a problem.
Yeah, that's
For
right.
them, they're more like, day to day, I'm happy, it's fine. And they're not maybe thinking so far down the line.
Yeah.
I think we kind of owe it to ourselves and to them to ensure that even after retirement, they live a fairly good life. And
And you want them, I think, as
Of
your child, you
course.
want them to have a quality life.
I do,
right? Yeah.
I don't want them to be in a situation 10 years from now, they are like running out of cash, but then they are maybe too proud to ask.
Yes.
And then it's like not enough. And then they
Yeah.
live with that worry every day, go to the market, not enough money to buy fish, and they
Yeah.
like cannot say it, right?
Yes.
So I think,
Because they're parents.
correct.
Yeah.
So
it shouldn't come to that.
we have to do something.
Yeah, that's great. I think a lot of Singaporeans in our age group would feel the same way. So now that that conversation's been had, let's say we've successfully made headway with our
Yes.
parents, had that conversation about what to do with their finances. Let's talk about what kind of steps we can take
Okay.
with their money. So there's investing, there's saving, and they don't have a long runway, let's face it. They don't have a long
Yes.
runway, they have one asset, not a lot of liquidity. What could be the first step, the first instrument that we as their children, or even they, when they decide, they agree to our plan to rejig their finances, what's the first thing that they can do with this new idea, I suppose, of, relooking their finances?
So that's a really good question, right? With my specific situation, my parents' only asset was their house, and that's obviously not liquid. Since they've downgraded, they do have a pool of cash now, which I can then invest for them. So I think I got lucky because there was a bit of cash that I could move around, right? Say, for example, if you're in a situation where that's not the case,
All right.
then you have to make sort of their monthly income work for you. You have to stretch every single dollar.
Yeah.
Right? I think in those situations, you need to have a lot of visibility into what they're spending in every month. And that can be quite invasive.
Yes.
Right? So again, just to
Not to
take
mention taxing on you as the child.
it is.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think, again, if you feel like it's necessary and the upside is worth the time, then it's something that I think you should consider doing, right? Yeah. So again, I think the very first step is getting them to acknowledge that even is a problem, right? So when I, first brought up this topic, it was to remind them that they don't have a long-term plan.
Yes.
So that's the first step.
Yeah.
Raise the alarm bells in their head
Yes.
so they know something is wrong.
Yeah.
The second step is understanding that, you're there to support them and maybe you can help them find a better solution. And then the third is to actually implement the solution,
Right.
right? So in the second step, when you're getting them to recognize you might know what to do. It's also where you try to get more visibility into their finances,
Right.
ask them to budget, figure out how much they spend monthly and all that. Then you figure out what little you have left. Like I said, at some point you might have to plan and pay.
Yeah.
So you have to do all that, plus also, maybe refill the pot a little bit where you can.
Let's take a look at step 3. You mentioned step 3 there, which is, to implement the plan. And I wanted to find out also, right, what do you then do with that money as a child who needs to settle their parents' finances? What is safe? What is, I guess, less of a headache for them, so that they don't come and hound you at 3 a.m. and say, girl, where's my money? Where you put in which one again? So where would you park that money is what I'm asking.
I hear you, and I've seen other Money Talks episodes where I think people are a bit more maybe conservative. I have quite strong conviction in the idea of investing.
Okay.
Right. And I do feel like investing in an ETF, I get that it is riskier than other assets, but I feel like where we are going in the next 10, 20 years, banking on the AI theme, and my parents do have another 10, 20 years, something like the S&P is actually perfect for them.
Wow. So auntie and uncle have
My parents have a
holdings as
portfolio,
S&P.
okay?
Wow.
Yeah. So it's difficult because it's their account. They have
Yes.
visibility to it. So every once in a while, my dad will screenshot and ask me, "Go, why everything red now?"
Oh no! See, that's the thing. That then you're opening up a new can of worms.
I am.
right?
So
Yeah.
I think it's also about getting them. Step 2, right, is getting them to trust that you are there to support them every step of the way, and maybe that they have to hand the reins over to you. Maybe you do know a little bit better, and they have to trust you in that, right? So now we're there. My parents do have investments. They have a portfolio.
Wow.
Look, saving accounts and fixed D, it's not going to beat inflation, especially if interest rates going down.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not, it doesn't look okay the next 3-5 years, right? But on the same side, we're seeing all-time highs in equity markets. I would feel that
Yeah.
regardless of age, it might make sense maybe to tap into that a little bit.
And obviously, if you don't feel you're qualified, you don't trust yourself,
Yeah.
or they don't trust you.
Yeah.
What option is there that you can recommend?
need to get a third party, I think. Yeah, I think that's the only way to do it already.
Yeah.
You would have to get someone that I guess you both trust. That can be their sibling, your auntie. That can be your financial advisor. That can really be any third party that they see as
The authority almost.
The authority. You get another adult.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Right. And someone, I suppose, that has the credibility to do so. I guess with you, with your parents, they have you, a 2-in-1 in you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
in a
it's
way.
a unique situation.
Yeah.
Because they've seen what I have been able to do with sheer grit, tenacity, and trust in the markets.
And a table with papers on it and
Yeah.
like, no, we need to stop this now.
Yeah, I think they were convinced along the way. So if you are that child in that situation, you need to help your parents, but you are your own self not so confident in the markets.
Right.
I think you have to get a third party in
Sure.
and get their advice.
That's fair. I think
Yeah.
that would be the best way forward also.
Mm-hmm.
What if your parents are hard-nosed? Don't touch my money. Don't tell me what to do with my money. I raised you, so I don't need to be told what to do. I mean, and there are parents like that.
There are.
Be it sheer ego, be it I really don't trust you with my money, whatever the reason is, there are parents out there that are going to fall into this third bucket. Conservative and very resistant. It's a hard no. I'm fine. Leave me alone. What do you do then?
I don't know if this is the right answer, but this is my answer. I think one of the hardest truths you can learn as a child is you can't always change your parents. Right? I think that when it gets to that point where they are saying hard no, you do have to respect them.
Okay.
It is their money. They did raise you and they did spend the last sort of 50, 60 years, putting in hard work. And that's hard-earned money. If they don't trust you to touch it, it doesn't mean they don't love you. It doesn't mean they think you're not competent, right?
Yeah, correct.
It's a very... You have to compartmentalize. They don't want you to touch their money. You've done all that you can. They won't change.
Yeah.
I think we have to accept that. And then I think it's up to you to maybe plan ahead on their behalf. And that doesn't help, right? That's not what people of the sandwich
It's not
generation
the
want to
ideal
hear.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you try. It took me 2 years.
Yeah.
Might take you 5. Might take you a
week?
dinner. Yeah. A dinner like Ding Tai Fung. It could be anything, right?
Yeah.
You don't know. As your parents get older, I think circumstances change.
Yes, and I think the
You
way
try
they
again.
think also changes. Their relationship with you evolves. And I think we as their children need to be a bit more cognizant, I suppose,
Yes.
of that dynamic
For sure.
in order to know the opportunity, the
Entry
opportune
point.
time to slit yourself. No,
Yeah.
not to slit yourself. To slot yourself in to the conversation.
Yes, I think you try again.
Yeah.
I have a 7-month-old.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I try to put him to sleep and then he doesn't want to. And then I drive myself nuts. Then I just give up and try again 15 minutes later. It's the same with your parents, right?
Yeah.
You do the talk
Yeah.
and they say, die, I don't want.
Yeah.
Then you accept that that's just the reality for now.
You know what? They probably did the same with you when you were a kid,
And
right?
you refuse to sleep, right? And they
Yeah.
had patience. They waited 13, 15, whatever
Yeah.
minutes and then they tried again.
Yeah.
You do the same. You wait a year, a couple of months and you try again.
So what's going to be your reaction when your son tells you, hey, Mom, I know you were a money expert sometime in the day, but I think it ain't working out. I need to fix this for you. What would you say?
I will say, okay, my child. I will say, okay, we sit down and then we talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, my husband and I, we have a very open sort of like, I talk a lot. I'm a yapper. I'm on a podcast. I'm enjoying myself, by
Right.
the way, yapping.
I'm glad.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're the right person for this.
Thank you. I just love talking.
Right.
So in my relationship, we talk a lot. My kid's 7 months old, he can't talk. But I
Okay.
assume when he can, we will also talk a lot. So I think if we continue that culture, and again, parents these days, they have that idea of communicating with their children,
Yes.
that gentle parenting movement, there's a shift, right? So I would think that when we are older, our kids would hopefully feel safe enough to sit you down and say, it's not working.
Yeah.
You had all your money in stocks, but like you really should have just bought crypto or like whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Who knows what we come up with,
That's true.
right?
Yeah.
You have to listen.
I think you brought up an excellent point there that caps off our conversation, and that is communication. Really, the art of communication is what really sells and seals the deal here.
I would feel so.
Yeah. So thank you so much for all of this, Vera. I'm really glad that you were able to sit in this seat today.
Oh, I'm really happy. Thank you for talking with me about this.
Guys, this was really insightful. I hope you found it insightful as well and you're inspired to make that first move. Make sure the dinner is nice at least, okay? Doesn't have to be in Dan Tai Fung. It can be a home-cooked dinner. They'll appreciate it even more and then they'll suspect you even more. And then you can go in. Just a thought. Just a thought, just an idea. If you have any questions or comments, you can always leave them on the Money Talks podcast social pages and wherever you're listening to our podcast. Money Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Me Listen. Rate us where you find us. Credits to the team, as always, Tiffany Ang, Nat Fetalvero, Junaini Johari, Joanne Chan, Hanida Amin Sayewind. I'm Andrea Heng signing off for the Money Talks podcast.